Hey, my name is Isaac, and I'm an emergency department nurse, and I've been nursing for about 4 years now. I never thought I'd do nursing. I left school at 17 and joined the army as an infantry soldier for a couple of years, and I guess I didn't really find the purpose probably that I was looking for in the army. And after about 18 months or 2 years, I wanted to get out and look at doing something else. Initially, I'd talked to a couple of friends who were paramedics because I liked the idea of it. You know, you see all this action and excitement and things like that. And the general advice that I got from a lot of them was paramedicine is probably a bit more limited, and if you work in paramedicine, you can only do the one thing. Whereas if you go and do something like nursing, you have a wide range of different specialties. You can work in ED, ICU, community care, mental health, and there's a lot more long-term progression opportunities in regards to, I guess, you know, if you want to specialise and go into a nurse specialist role, if you want to become a nurse practitioner, if you want to go into management. And there's that understanding that obviously in 10 or 15, 20 years, you're not going to be the same person you are at 20, and maybe those opportunities will be more beneficial once you're there. So I took their advice and decided, well, I'll listen to them, and I went and studied nursing. I think there were a few things that I was probably looking for. One was I really wanted to be challenged. I think I wanted to do meaningful work that actually has an output and impacts the community and the people around me. That wasn't necessarily what I realised at the time when I went into it, but that's probably how I look at it now. When I went into it, I was probably quite naive. When you look at the medical field, you have all these ideas about probably what it is going to be and what your day-to-day job is, but it's so different. I guess you have that preconception of when you look at emergency nursing, all you see is flashing lights, CPR, car crashes, all this crazy stuff. But that's a very, very small percentage of what you do. The majority of the job is, well, there's such variety. You know, some days it can be sprained ankles and broken limbs, and other days it can be people that can't get into their GPs with tonsillitis or infections of some sort. Other groups that have been let down by the community and aren't getting probably the health support they need. Yeah, you know, 90% of the job is just the fundamentals and basics. But it's also, I think the fundamentals and basics get overlooked because it's the bread and butter of your job, and if you can do the basics really well, that's when you'll be a really effective team member in those bigger situations, those more precarious presentations where people are really unwell. Yeah. I don't think that you can be suited for this job. There's some traits that will help you, but if I look at the colleagues that I have and who I work with, there is such a variety of personalities and spectrums of, I guess, for people that are introverted or extroverted, or people that are really empathetic, and then other people that are a bit more hard-nosed or things like that. There's no perfect personality that is going to fit for an ED nurse, and I think that benefits us because we actually have so many different patients present that sometimes different approaches will suit that person better. I think there's the normal frustrations of when you don't have enough staff or resources to probably deliver the care you want to do. You know, especially when you've got a waiting room filled with 30 to 40 people who can't get through just because you don't have the staffing for it. And there's frustrations with that, but I guess it's also the idea of that I don't need to focus on the 30 or 40 in the waiting room. I need to focus on the patients that I have in front of me. And if I spend my time and energy dealing with that, it means that our patients in the waiting room or other areas that need to be seen will be seen quicker. And also doing a good enough job because, you know, I think one of the big challenges with the time pressures and resource pressures that we have at the moment is there's this big emphasis on we need to see, we need to treat, we need to get rid of people so we can get those people through. But sometimes if you take an extra 20 minutes with a patient or an extra 30 minutes to actually explain what the process is for discharge and just see if they have any questions about what they've been diagnosed with, then often it will stop that person representing to the department. Because if people go away and, you know, if they've been seen quickly, treated quickly, and then we say, oh no, you're okay, you know, off you go. Or, you know, you have a small infection and you need to take this antibiotic for 7 days. Even if you start to improve, you still need to take it till the end of the course. If we take that time, that they don't come back and see a triage nurse, see an ED nurse, see an ED doctor, have that whole discussion again, which probably takes about, you know, probably 3 to 4 hours of cumulative time. And also, I don't think it builds a very good relationship between the health system and the patient. because they are a bit perplexed. And that's probably one of the biggest challenges I find, is that how do I allocate my time and who do I allocate it on, and what does this person need to get the most out of their presentation today. Like I said, I think ED is a bit of a weird place because we don't really have continuity of care. We have someone for ideally 6 hours and then we get rid of them, which sounds callous when you say it like that, but we know that if you're staying in the ED for longer than that, it's aligned with bad outcomes or bad health outcomes. By 6 hours we should be making a decision that you need to be admitted or you're safe enough to go home. That's the general gist of it. What do patients need when they come in to see us? There's a few things. The first, I think they need reassurance to a certain degree that we're there to take them seriously and hear their concerns. Unfortunately, when it comes to hearing concerns, people don't always necessarily come out with that straight away because either they're embarrassed or there's something else going on, or they'll give us a large spiel of lots of information, but the real reason they're there is hidden in there, and you'll be like, oh, actually tell me more about this or that. I think they drop it in there because, I don't think they do it consciously, but they want someone who picks up on the little things and knows that they are. Or maybe you can say, oh, well, people don't want to walk in and say, oh, I have this wrong with me, and people want to be heard. They don't want to be listened to, they want to be heard. That's a big thing. I think they want to be reassured that we are there to help and not just see them and flick them. I think those are probably the two main things. And they need things explained to them in a term that they understand. Because there's no point us rushing off with jargon or saying, oh, we're sending off this blood test, because for 95% of the population, they're not going to understand why we're doing that. My experience as a male nurse has been really good, to be fair. Acute care areas such as ED, ICU, things like that tend to have a larger population a larger percentage of male nurses compared to nursing in general. So it's not that we're alone. There's other blokes that work with us in the department. It's awesome, especially coming from a male-dominated industry like the army to the complete opposite, which is a female-dominated. I had to, there's nuances, there's things you have to get used to. You get educated on a lot of things, which is always funny. Everyone's been great. They'll tell you to pull your head in when you need to pull your head in. Yeah, I don't think there's anything bad about it. ED is obviously a bit more notorious for having straight shooters anyway, so there's not always a lot of beating around the bush, and like I said, if I have my deficits and I have my flaws and I get reminded of them constantly, and that's all good. But that's how I'd prefer it. You'd rather be aware of your flaws than, I think, being ignorant of them. The only real big difference I see between the hospital and real life is when I'm in the hospital working, someone will give me their baby and go move their car. They will give me their baby to look after, and I'll just be strolling around with the baby for a little while, for 5 minutes or whatever it is, and then they'll come back and give the baby back, and it's just, it just is what it is. But being a bloke outside of the hospital and someone not knowing that I'm a nurse, I can't even comment on a baby. I can't even be like, oh, what a lovely baby or something like that, because I don't know why, but it just seems to be a bit of a faux pas where, why is this man commenting on my baby? You know what I mean? And it'll be like friends of friends. It's not that I would ever say to a stranger because that would just be weird, but but you know what I mean? Like people that don't know I'm a nurse, that are kind of friends by extension, until they know that, they'll be like, oh, there's not many men that comment on babies or something like that. But that's the only real faux pas. What does nursing mean to me? I probably can't nail it down to a specific sentence, but I think it's one of those rare jobs where you get personal development, ongoing education. It's a strange profession because especially in the emergency department, because you're dealing with people who are very vulnerable or are going through some pretty terrible times in their life at moments. It's such a privilege to be part of those moments, and what you do can have a huge influence on that person and their family. I can't really answer what nursing means to me, but it definitely provides me with a platform that I feel that the work I'm doing is meaningful. And it's also a job that holds you accountable, because there's such a big incentive to do your job well or do the basics well, because it's the little things. You hear about those people that have someone try to put 5 IV lines in them and they they're frustrated, you know. But if you practice it and you do the basics really well, and someone says they're difficult access and you get in there and you get a line first time and you start the treatment like they need to do, which cuts off, you know, they wait for their blood results, but if you get that line in first time and you send off bloods, they're like, sweet, today's already a great start. Why would you not want a job that you have to go all in? You know, it's great that we have an emphasis that we need to be up to standard and that we need to always be learning, because there's nowhere to hide. Like, you have to do the job well. And don't get me wrong, there's huge deficits that I have in certain areas that I could definitely be better in, and I think that goes for anyone in any profession. But you're constantly reminded of those deficits of the job, and you're like, man, I've really got to pay some more attention to this. I've got to get better at this, and it doesn't happen overnight. I've still got plenty of flaws, but yeah, I just love it. I don't know why anyone would want a job where they can cruise and just relax and look forward to their weekend and show up in 9 to 5 Monday to Friday and their routine. Our job is awesome. Yeah.